is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Racely to the inside goes Logan Clapman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Trunkett goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying, there's contact though.
Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Leonard drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Welcome, one and all, to the iRacing eSports Network this Wednesday, the 17th of October, for the V8s Online Porsche Supercup. Of course, presented by ourselves at V8s Online. This is the almost final round of the season. We've only got a couple of rounds left, and we are at Okayama this week for a split sprint format, which should certainly prove interesting. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is Brock Cadeye once again. Brock, time for Porsches at Okayama. I'm excited. Are you?
Yes, hello everyone. It's great to be back here at Okayama after the GT3 racing last week, which proved to be a very exciting race. So I think we're in some great racing here. As we saw last couple of weeks ago, in Auckland Park, we had such a small field, but we saw some of the best racing we've seen all season. So hopefully a good sign of what's to come tonight. And we've got our mainstays in the category here tonight. You've got guys like Richard Hunter, James McKee, David Haynes, Cameron Dans, Michael Healy, and Josh Anderson, our 2 championship leaders there. So I'm really interested. The split sprint format's interesting as well, because this first one we're on a stinking hot track, 41 degrees Celsius in these cars that don't have much in the way of assist, so it's just driver skill out there, and then our next race will hopefully be a little bit cooler for the drivers. But yeah, I am excited.
Yeah, certainly. Okayama, Once again, if you were with us for the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia last week, then you will know that this track really turns it up in terms of racing. It's smooth, it follows the terrain, but it's also quite technical. It's also got a bit of character of its own. Hosted Formula One Grand Prix in 1994 and 1995. It's a very small, tight, twisty track, and that first sector is going to be quite interesting in these Porsches. They definitely like the stop-start nature of the final sector a bit more.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I decided to do a couple of test laps early just to see how the car would handle around here. The GT3 car, I think, suits the track a bit more with the flowing nature of it, but the Porsche, particularly in that first sector, takes on a few more characteristics of the V8 in that it hasn't got as much downforce, so it doesn't want to stick to the corners through the nice flowing stuff, particularly through that first sector, as well as the fact that through that first sector, it's really only one line, so the guys have got to get it sorted out fairly quickly. Otherwise, come turn 2, I reckon we'll see people going out to the sand trap there. So, a couple of things to watch for tonight, and particularly with such a hot track, these cars are not going to have the grip that the guys out there are going to want coming into this race. So, I'm interested to see particularly how some of the front guys go. They're our pioneers in this race, and how hard they'll take it, and whether we see any mistakes.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot on the line here. The practice session is now over. We're going to be ticking into the race session. It's 2 20-minute races here at Okayama tonight. And the grid will be as follows going into this first race on a track that is 41 degrees Celsius. Starting in first position, we have Joshua Anderson and Michael Healy in second, Greg Stewart in third, Jimmy Ball starting in fourth with James McKee in fifth, sixth and seventh, Cameron Dance and Nick Cummings, teammates at TTL Esports, David Haynes starting in eighth, ninth, Jackson at Sazlin Harlow, and rounding out the top 10, Scotty Harris from One Performance Racing.
And in the 11th place tonight, we have Richard Hunter. 12th is Steve Jansen. 13th, Tim Weston. 14th, Harry Inwood. 15th, David Mulhall. 16th, Zachary Phelan. 17th, Jason Cossey. 18th, Stephen Hall. And rounding out our 19-car field here tonight, Joel Kenton.
Yes, indeed. There's 19 cars, but certainly potential here for fantastic racing. Revs are rising. Green flag is away, and away we go. Josh Anderson not getting the best start, but he's even with the One Performance Racing guys. Meanwhile, moving already into turn 1. Cameron Dance, he got a really good start there. Coming through turn 1 and now into turn 2 at Okayama International Circuit. The side-by-side for the lead. Michael Healy and Josh Anderson, championship leaders battling. There's a car off in the background there and spinning. I don't know if that's
a TTL car.
Cummings. Oh, goodness me. That was Cameron Dance. Oh, that is a
there's
huge
4 cars off there.
Oh, plenty of cars involved in this one. That is a real shame to see, but it looks to me like, oh, David Mulhall sliding just slightly, but both TTL cars there with big damage. We've got a replay up of this presented by CPR Kart Parts. So coming through turn 1, looks to me like we're going roughly side by side, and it just seems like a little bit of contact was made? No, actually, Dance had a bit of a slide and ended up spinning in front of half the field. Nick Cummings actually making contact with David Haynes as well, so there you go. That is what caused that incident. So the TTL squad is certainly not going to be happy with that.
No, that's it, and this is exactly what we were talking about in this race, is that there are going to be incidents like this. So now we've flashed to McKee on screen at the moment here. So he's battling it out with Greg Stewart as they come back onto the main straight now to finish off this first lap here at Okayama. That very exciting first lap, I might add. So we've got the number 69 car of Greg Stewart right behind him there. And McKee is sort of, looks like he's bottling up the field a bit here. The top 3 up ahead have gotten a bit of a jump there, but McKee is that cork in the bottle at the moment. We are only on lap 2, but look at where the leaders are compared to where McKee is. So this will be really interesting to watch. Greg Stewart looks like he's all over the back of him. Haynes in behind there. We've seen Haynes has been racing these last few weeks, particularly in those battles with Dance at Alton Park a couple of weeks ago. They come round now with this long right-hander onto this back straight, excuse me. Very difficult to get right and very critical to get right as well. And it looks like McKee's actually got a beautiful run out of there because Greg Stewart did not get up to the back of him. He might still try to take a move down here. Not going to be able to do it. Oh, he's going to throw his nose down there. That front right just slightly locked up. He's looking for any movement to get down there and try and get past him.
Yeah, definitely. And now coming into this final sector of the circuit is where you can really throw some moves up the inside of your competitors. You can tell that Greg Stewart is really desperate to get past McKee here, and you can see Haynes, having a bit of a look.
Oh, contact!
Contact! Greg Stewart just making rear-end contact with James McKee. And there we go, that's McKee losing quite a few positions out of that. Now, Stewart is involved in this battle with Scotty Harris, going side by side through the penultimate turn. Goodness me, Scotty Harris. Some courageous driving here, but they're both giving each other just enough room, which is awesome to see. But Greg Stewart losing, I think, a bit more ground out of that than he would have liked, because he's not quite rid of McKee just yet. Have a look at them coming into turn one. Harris still holding side by side with Stewart. This is amazing. How have they been able to hold on for this long? I have no idea, but Greg Stewart is going to go for the over-under here at turn two. He's not going to quite get it done, though. Oh, almost contact. This is a very hard part of the circuit to go side by side through. Have a look at that. Amazing. We're going to get a quick replay of that incident there, Brock.
Yeah, these guys are playing for keeps at the moment here, and looking at that there, I would not be surprised if Greg Stewart's in a bit of trouble for that. He threw it right down the inside there, and he gave it his best shot, but it did not quite work out for him there, unfortunately, and ended up in that contact. So I'll be interested to see what race control do about that, but yeah, a little bit naughty from him, unfortunately, there.
Certainly. We're taking a look at Steve Jansen and Richard Hunter battling here. Now, Jansen is in the middle of this big pack of cars coming up to the midfield. He's actually moved up a few positions from where he started. Started in 12th, he's now running in 9th position, so he stands to gain quite a bit here if the guys in front of him make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly, and Jansen is someone we've seen who is a fierce fighter on track. He will throw it down the inside and make moves work wherever he can. So we'll watch him here coming through. They've got a bit of a gap up to Stewart and McKee there, and it looks like McKee's actually gotten back past Stewart while we were looking at that replay. So somehow that's all been sorted out yet again, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. But Jansen is in a great position for something like that. If another incident like we saw before happens again, he will be able to sail past these guys, particularly with how close this little pack is. I mean, we've got 4th through to about 11th in this little battle pack here. So this is great to see, some great racing as we're getting used to in this Porsche Supercup series.
Yeah, certainly. Currently looking at Harry Inwood at the moment, riding on board with him as he comes onto the back straight. He's chasing Jackson Salslin Harlow. Oh, and there's a car going slow. That's interesting. Who's that?
That's Zach Phelan. He's just pulling off to the side of the road, already lapped by the looks of it. So maybe issues. He's nearly pulling back into the traffic there too. So something weird's going on there for Zach, unfortunately.
Yeah. Very slow. He's actually going to stop as we go to McKee and Stewart once again. Now, McKee, here we go. Stewart trying to make that move again. Is it going to be a repeat of before? No.
McKee was smart there.
Yeah, staying a bit wide, giving Stewart a bit of room on the inside. Good to see, but he's still managing to stay in front, and you can see he is really the cork in the bottle now, Brock.
Yeah. And we've got Cummings and Kenton have come together as well. Wow, Cummings is right off the circuit there, off in that sand trap. So that's actually the same corner that Stewart McKee had their contact. It looks, oh wow, Cummings has absolutely drilled Kenton coming into there. That was massive. Wow, I don't know what's happened there. Maybe a hardware failure or something, but that was just, it was like the brakes had failed on Cummings' Porsche there.
Yeah, that is very strange to see. Not quite sure what's going on there, but Cummings is in the pits as we go back live, and we are looking at David Haynes and Scotty Harris right now. You see, they have really broken away from the train headed up by James McKee. This is really benefiting them, and David Haynes actually setting lap times, probably a bit slower than the top three up ahead. And have a look in the background, McKee actually going defensive against Stewart into the hairpin. This is going to be interesting, certainly. Stewart really getting desperate now to get by James McKee, who is carrying a little bit of damage as a result of that prior incident. So let's check them out as they go into the final sector once again. McKee will be wise to what Stewart's been doing, and he's going to go defensive. There we go, protecting that inside line.
Oh, Jansen in the background there.
Oh my goodness, yes, Steve Jansen Have a look at that. He's gone all the way around Richard Hunter there. Fantastic move from Steve Jansen. And that's what we were talking about before. That's Jansen just taking advantage of the situation around him. Oh, goodness me. That is...
Contact!
Harlow. Oh, goodness, yeah, contact. That's Harlow up in front of Richard Hunter now. He probably won't be satisfied with that one.
No, that was... these guys are playing for keeps. This is absolutely awesome to watch and commentate on. And we've got side by side there, Reese.
Yeah, Tim Weston and looks to me like David Mulhall as well. They are having a right little battle here. Have a look at Tim Weston there, just using an alternative line through turn 2. You can it's interesting the kind of lines you can take through the first sector at this circuit. You really see drivers employing their own little bits of flair in terms of how they take these turns, and obviously not working out the best for Tim Weston right now, but he has got a little bit of a look in here at Mr. Mulhall as the battles continue to rage on. Oh, and he's very late on the brakes, in fact, going for potentially a crisscross. You can see Mulhall's just trying to cover him off here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this sector is extremely hard to pass in, or this little section of track. Once you get past that hairpin, you've got to stay line astern. And now we look at the background here. Weston is looking. He's trying to put Mulhall off here. Not going to work. Mulhall takes a lot of curb there and probably unsettles the car a bit. But again, very hard to overtake in this zone here. You've got to really throw it down the inside like we saw Jansen do a couple of laps ago now. So Mulhall will keep that position for now coming into the second last corner, but watch for the draft on the front straight, particularly if Weston gets a good run here. Again, the run out of this corner is critical. Mulhall goes a little bit wide, but uses that AstroTurf. Probably saved himself a little bit there. Coming down the main straight now, Weston right in the draft there with a bit of damage though, which might hinder his efforts there. We'll just have to drop him behind for another lap here. Flashing back to McKee and Stewart, this little battle pack in the middle here, looks like that's spread out just a bit now, but one little mistake from any of these drivers, and I think we're going to see an incident happen here. Stewart closes up a little bit under brakes there as well. I'm going to be honest with you here, Reese. I'm just waiting for this to boil over. I think that there is something big that's going to happen here, and I'm just waiting for something to go wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, Greg Stewart, he's been around the Australian sim racing scene for a very long time. If I'm not mistaken, he is one of the earliest members of TTL eSports way back when. So he's had plenty of experience in sim racing. I think he's not prone to silly incidents, at least not intentionally. So we'll see what happens between him and McKee. Apart from that incident beforehand, making that rear-end contact, the racing between Stewart and McKee has been respectful, if not a little heated, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, that's it. I guess the defense for that move of Stewart's is that we do talk about the brakes in these cars being extremely hard to manage in that they lock very easily with no ABS there. So coming into this track has a lot of corners that are a little bit off camber, and we're going to go back to just on another topic here. Go back to Mulhall and Weston. Wow, Weston has gone right across to the right-hand side of the circuit here. Mulhall trying to defend a little bit, not going to make it work. Mulhall's going to try and keep him around the outside. Has gone very wide there. Going to keep it side by side coming into turn 2 here. Mulhall will have the ideal line. Weston out wide here on the right-hand side. He'll keep it on the right-hand side in that Okayama mobile. They're side by side coming through this next lot of turns here. This is some absolutely awesome racing we're seeing here tonight. Mulhall deep under brakes at the moment. Weston on the ideal line there. They're going to make it. Oh, that was so close there. No contact made. Mulhall did not get the run he was looking for there. Weston at the moment. Oh, Mulhall's going to look for a move here. He's going left, right, trying to find a way through on Weston at the moment. Don't know if he'll be able to make it work here. He's coming down the back straight, not going to be able to throw it down the inside. What an exchange in the first half of the lap there.
Yeah, that was brilliant, and I guess that goes to show David Mulhall's strength, I think, that he was using in that battle, as he has a little bit of a slide. His real boon in that is that he was able to maintain momentum around the outside, as Scotty Harris has dropped back now. He's actually falling into the clutches of the McKee and Stewart battle. Not quite sure what's gone on there with Harris, but obviously he suffered a problem or two.
Yeah, just trying to find out where that problem happened. He's dropped right off the back of Haynes, so whether that's just pace related or it looks like his pace is just slowed right up at the moment, because I can't see, I've gone back a couple of laps now, there's no incident that's occurred for him. So Haynes right now is well and truly in the clear, 4 positions up on his starting position. And just in the background here of Scotty Harris, we can see this battle livening up with McKee and Stewart yet again. And just keep in mind, folks, we've only got a 20-minute race here tonight. We've got 7 minutes left, about 5.5 laps. So there is little to no time essentially left in this race now. These guys have got to go for these moves. So we'll look at Stewart McKee at the moment, because Stewart is basically a shadow of McKee as they come down the back straight here. Stewart not going to throw it down the inside at the moment. Smart move, hard to get it done, particularly because the outside line works at the hairpin here, as we talked about last week. So McKee will keep it going for now, but we know Stewart isn't afraid to throw it down the inside of the next set of corners coming up, the left, right. It's a little bit of an awkward area to throw a move down, but if you do it like Janssen and surprise the person, you might just get it done. Got to be aware, speaking of Janssen, he's right up behind Stewart here. So he is right in this, and we know he's not afraid to make a brave move and try and make it work. So I think we've got a really nice little battle pack here for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, we certainly have. And, you know, Janssen has really taken advantage of this fight between McKee and Stewart. They've really slowed each other up. So he's got a really good chance here of possibly getting a top 7, maybe a top 6, if things get really interesting between McKee and Stewart. They're going into turn 1, once again, almost equidistant from each other. Harris just holding the gap there out ahead, and I think Janssen at the moment just biding his time, observing what these two are doing, because you can honestly expect the same sort of moves to be made at the same places. It's playing a high-speed game of poker, I suppose. If you can surprise your opponent with a move where they're not expecting it, then you really stand a good chance of getting past. Taking a look at Stewart here from the back end of Mr. McKee. Hasn't got a good run on the straight, but you see how much he closes up under brakes. Almost a little bit of a more direct line towards the apex of that hairpin. And now it's this section of the track that Stewart really shows his strength, as McKee actually running a little bit wider than Stewart in these. Oh, that's not good on the grass. There we go. Stewart's going to hurl one up the inside. McKee giving him room again. Can he hold it up to the run to this hairpin? He certainly can, and that is why I love the last sector at Okayama, because it allows stuff like this to happen side by side through the penultimate turn. Can Stewart hold it around the outside here? He possibly could. He's really hooking it up. Yes, he does. He hooks up the throttle beautifully there. So Stewart actually threw on McKee finally, and he will certainly be happy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Watch Janssen in the background here looking very, very racy. Stewart actually runs a little bit wider than what he probably would have wanted there, but that was beautifully set up by Stewart. He did a great job to make sure that he stuck with McKee, because he knew that if he could get that run out of the final corner, he would have that position. So we'll watch now and see if McKee drops any further back, but Janssen is, well, a big threat at the moment. He is right there and looking for a 7th place position. So he's actually already 4 places up on where he started. Both Janssen and Stewart, McKee had a moment through that, through the corner there, that right-hander leading onto the back straight. So probably not the best run. I imagine Stewart might be able to skip away a little bit here from McKee, because it looked like McKee was holding him up for quite a bit of the race so far. We come down to this hairpin here. Interesting to see the way Janssen's car reacts compared to the likes of McKee, and which car looks nicer through this section, because this is where McKee has been struggling to get the speed to try and get ahead of the guys behind him. So looks all right. Janssen's car looks a little bit straighter coming through there. Is he going to bomb it? No, he's probably a little bit too far back there, but I wouldn't be surprised with about 3 laps to go if we do see a move made in these last few laps.
Yes, indeed, on board with Steve Janssen right now as he pursues James McKee. And with respect to McKee, you can definitely sense something that regularly happens when you've been battling with someone and you finally get passed by them. There's a bit of an ego hit, and you tend to lose your rhythm a bit because you've been focusing on defending for so long, and you end up not driving quite to the standard that you were before once your opponent passes you. So Steve Janssen will be hoping that that's happened to James McKee here, and I think it's now that he really needs to be turning the wick up, but we'll see.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you said, ego hit is actually the best terms to describe that. When you get passed by an opponent that you've been defending from. Stewart makes a bit of a mistake there actually, and so does McKee. So Jansen's going to look for the move here. This is probably exactly what you were talking about here, Reece. So Jansen is now going side by side as they come down the back straight here. We'll have a look into the hairpin. Jansen on the brakes. Oh, he's going to make contact! No, he's gone round there. Contact with McKee. Oh no, Jansen. Oh my goodness gracious me, he was on top of another car. Yeah. Oh, it's all gone wrong there.
Got taken for a bit of a ride by Jackson Harlow there. Goodness me. Replay on screen of that. I don't know if Jansen just missed his braking point there, because I don't think he was intending to pass Stewart as well.
No, that was, oh man, that was crazy there. Oh, it looks like he's locked the rears after missing his braking point, trying to get that move done on McKee, and spun around, and now all of that's unfolded. This is crazy. We've only got a couple of laps left in this race too. So, oh my goodness, this has all gone pear-shaped for these guys here.
Yeah, it certainly has. Real shame for Jansen. He had been driving so well up to that point. We're focusing on David Haynes right now, who currently is in 4th place, all on his lonesome. Josh Anderson, Michael Healy, and Jimmy Ball, our top 3. Looking at Anderson right now, he is way out in front, almost untroubled there. So this will definitely help his stake in the championship battle. And it just goes to show how good the racing's been through the field. We've barely given the leaders any airtime at all.
Oh no, it's actually, I was just thinking about that. It's really great that we've been able to give the mid-pack some airtime, because usually it's focusing on the lead battle and that sort of thing, but it's been great to give the mid-pack some airtime. But yeah, Anderson, Healy and Ball in those Okayama mobiles, untouchable. That's basically the one word I'd use to describe them, and that has been the word used to describe them too.
Ooh, yeah, and Harry Inwood actually having a battle here with Steve Jansen. Another OPR boy is Harry Inwood. Oh, just playing a bit with the track limits there. Once again, that's definitely not the line that you'd be wanting to take through that section. So Inwood can definitely smell blood here. Jansen carrying quite a bit of damage and out of position, you would probably say, considering how he was doing before. So Inwood will definitely be looking to make a move there. Could possibly be a top 9 for him.
Yeah, and it's been a good race for Inwood as well. He's +4 on where he started, so this could be a really good result for him here. So we'll have a look and see if he can maybe catch up, because Inwood's car is actually in mint condition compared to the looks of Jansen. So I assume Jansen may even have some damage there. So we're on the last lap now as well, as we're watching this battle between Jansen and Inwood. You can just see that Inwood is reeling him in just bit by bit. I don't know if it'll be enough. We'll have to wait and see to the back straight, because I think that'll be our real telltale sign of just how bad Jansen's car is. But just under braking there, Inwood catches him massively and has a moment. So I think that might ruin his chances of getting to Jansen and overtaking him. But still, I think a top 10 is something that Inwood would be pretty happy with.
Yeah, certainly. Well, this guy, Josh Anderson, it just goes to show how dominant this race has been for him. We have barely talked about him at all. Only got 2 more corners to go before we can seal victory here in race 1 at Okayama. He will be beaming, grinning from ear to ear in that Porsche. Anderson going for a slight drift out of the final corner and taking an absolutely brilliant victory in race 1. Just a fantastic run from him. Michael Healy finishing a strong 2nd. Meanwhile, Jimmy Ball flashing his lights in celebration as he crosses the line in 3rd place. He'll definitely be happy for that. And One Performance Racing, a 1-2-3 finish. They got to be happy with that.
Yeah, well, One Performance Racing have been, well, they've been the class of the field this whole season, really. Healy and Anderson have been duking it out on track. Like right now, just looking at the championship standings, we haven't got a graphic for it, but I'll just quickly touch on this. They are 200 points clear with drop rounds of their next closest competitor in Forzan El Nabi. So that just shows you the level that they're operating at compared to their competitors, and they're doing very well. And OPR, whatever it is, driver skill, their setups, a bit of both, it's working for them, because these guys are doing very, very well. And Anderson has just, with this race, extended his championship lead just a bit over Healy. So it'll be interesting to see the next race and how that pans out with a slightly cooler track. We have seen in the past, slightly cooler track means the bravery gets a bit higher and we see some more incidents, but hopefully we see some awesome racing like we did this last race. I actually really enjoyed commentating that.
Yes, indeed. Well, the results are as follows. Josh Anderson finishing in first place. Michael Healy in second. Jimmy Ball completing the podium, of course. David Haynes finishing in fourth place from 8th. Strong run from him. How about Scotty Harris, too? Finishing in 5th place from 10th. Greg Stewart, bit of a slide down from 3rd to 6th. Jackson Harlow in 7th. Richard Hunter in 8th. Steve Jansen just holding on to 9th place. Rounding out the top 10, Harry Inwood.
And in 11th, we've got James McKee after that late contact. Tim Weston in 12th. 13th is David Mulhall. 14th, Stephen Hall. 15th, Cameron Dance after that early contact. Jason Cossey in 16th. 17th is Joel Kenton. 18th, Zachary Fenlon. And our one DNF for the night, Nick Cummings, in 19th place after that odd contact in about the middle of the race there where he just drilled someone. I imagine that would have been a hardware failure in the end.
Yes, indeed. Well, we are going to take a few moments to get our heads back in the game and get ready for race 2. Another 20-minute race at Okayama coming up here. You're watching round 8 of the V8s Online Porsche Supercup Australasia on the iRacing eSports Network.
Sits to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall. Sleeve to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch him. That crash what a save.
Look to the outside, and Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Leonard drives it back down underneath and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.
You're watching the iRacing eSports Network. This is round 8 of the V8's online Porsche Supercup Australasia at Okayama International Circuit. Another 20-minute race coming up for you all after what was a very action-packed first race. Once again, my name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box, Brock Cat-Eye. Now, Brock, we've got about 5 minutes left in this practice session before we tick over to race 2, but that first race was certainly one to remember, especially in the mid-pack.
I'm going to go as far as saying that was probably the best racing we've seen all season in this Porsche Super Cup series at the moment. I absolutely loved that. Although there was a little bit of contact and obviously it didn't end as beautifully as what we would have hoped, there was some seriously great racing, some awesome moves from multiple drivers in the mid-pack, and it was great to see that these guys are battling for 7th through 12th position. You know, they're not going for the win of the race, but they're still out there to have a good time and go for it, and that is exactly what they did. I absolutely loved commentating it. I love watching it, and it's the sort of racing you want to see when you come out to watch the series, race in this series, and enjoy the Porsche Carrera Cup cars. So, yeah, I was seriously impressed with that, and we were just saying off air that the racing has just gotten better and better as the season's gone on, and that sort of respect and the ability for the drivers to understand the car and understand the drivers around them is a perfect example of that. So, yeah, I was blown away by that, and I hope we have a similar race here. Mind you, the track temperature is 17 degrees cooler than what we had in race 1, so I think that'll throw a curveball or two at us.
Yeah, certainly. We're racing in morning conditions for race 2. The virtual drivers at the virtual track have had a virtual sleep and have now virtually woken up for another day's worth of racing. So we've got a bit of time left in the practice session for the guys to get used to this new track temperature. Of course, the track is going to be much cooler. There's going to be a bit more grip available to the drivers. The cars won't be as slidey, but we'll have a little bit more oversteer to deal with, which is something that you don't necessarily want in these Porsche Cup cars.
No, that's it. The rear end tends to come around pretty fast if you get that oversteer. So we saw quite a few guys in the hotter conditions dealing with slides and then oversteer as a result of those slides, and it pretty much ruins, particularly through the hairpin leading onto the straight or the right hander onto the back straight of sail, the right hander leading onto the front straight, ruins your momentum and leaves you susceptible to moves. So you've got to be very careful with how you hustle these things around the track, because they require a very fine driving style, and you've got to handle them with care, if you will, because they haven't got assist to help you out. Like the GT3 cars, you can slam the brakes on and rely on the ABS. You can get on the throttle a bit early and rely on the traction control. These cars, all about being nice and smooth, nice and careful. Make sure you're not doing anything in overdrive, otherwise you're probably going to end up in the wall, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and a couple of drivers found that out the hard way on the first lap of race 1. Very unfortunate to see Cameron Dance actually lose it on his own coming out of turn 2. And his TTL Esports teammate, Nick Cummings, unfortunately was involved in an incident as well. Now, those guys at TTL Esports, they've had good runs, I guess you could say, in the Porsche series that have been run in the AusNZ community in recent times, but obviously not the season that they had been hoping for, I think. We've seen Cameron Dance have some fantastic battles, especially with David Haynes last round at Alton Park, but unfortunately this round has not gone his way.
No, unfortunately, yeah, we did see that contact for him early in race 1 tonight, which sort of, yeah, it ruined the race for him. We only had 20 minutes to race in that previous race, so it's kind of, if you have an incident, unless we have a safety car, which we don't see too many of in this series or in the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia, your race is kind of ruined in that sense. No pit stops or anything either to sort of bring you back into it with fuel saving. It's all over Red Rover, if you will. So, be interesting to see where some of these guys end up and whether they can fight their way through the field and really make the most of it. Do have a 5-minute longer race, which will net us probably about 3 more laps, roughly speaking, for the rest of this race. So I'm curious to see if anybody can use those extra 5 minutes to their advantage, and just who we see coming through the field, and whether OPR are going to stream away with it again, as we've seen them do it quite a few rounds now.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that's a possibility. Currently looking at Joshua Anderson at the moment, the winner of race 1 and the championship leader, and he is going to be looking to do exactly the same in this one. He seems in the best position. His teammate Michael Healy, as the checkered flag flies in the practice session, the warm-up. Definitely Healy has fallen short, I think, a few times in the last few races. Anderson's just able to really turn it on and make sure that he gets the results he needs. The grid on screen, basically, these are the race results from the previous race. So there's no jimmying around with the grid in this. Anderson starting on pole with Healy, Ball, Haynes, Harris, Stewart, Harlow, Hunter, Janssen, and Inwood, your top 10.
And in 11th, we have McKee, then Weston 12th, Mulhall 13th, 14th Hall, 15th Dance, Cossey in 16th, Kenton 17th, 18th is Felon, and Cummings, who has our only DNF, 19th.
Yes, indeed. So, short gridding time here at Okayama. Drivers will be going for it very, very soon.
Just waiting on one more. Got some flashing headlights on the front row there.
Of course, drivers getting a little bit impatient here. Don't really blame them. If you're trying to race once or twice in a night, you want things to get going as soon as possible. And they are. As we speak, the green flag flies, and away we go. Healy getting a good start versus Anderson there. He might be challenging him into turn 1. He definitely does. David Haynes, though, going for the move. He is at least hoping on Jimmy Ball, but having to yield to that. But Michael Healy, your race leader, this could potentially have championship implications and really tighten it up between the top 2 unless Anderson can get back by him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So right now, Anderson is still right on the back of him there. Still much time to play for here, but we'll wait and see what happens. Anderson has had better paces. In the background here, there is definitely some big jostling going on. We're having a look here at Steve Jansen, Scotty Harris, this little battle pack here. Jansen's trying to go down the inside of Scotty Harris, but sort of almost gets blocked off there by the gentleman in front of him. So that was just a little bit awkward there, unfortunately, for him. So he's going to have to jump in behind Scotty Harris there. Dance and Cummings are already making moves. We've got McKee's around in the background there.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to see. That is just coming into the last sector. So we have a replay up on screen just to see exactly what happened to him. It looks like it may have been contact with, oh goodness me, yeah. That was contact with David Mulhall, actually. Mulhall going for the move on the inside. And unfortunately, McKee, just a passenger. And his car is not in good shape.
That was really unfortunate there. We did see that contact earlier on in McKee. And we've got Jimmy Ball, excuse us, dropping back through the field here. So something's happened there and changed for the lead now as well. It's all going on. So Anderson has got past his teammate of Healy. So Healy first. So we've got a replay on screen now. Healy was still in first place coming through the second last corner as well here. So gets a pretty good run there. Anderson right in his draft there as we're coming down the main straight as well. So this will be interesting to see. And Ball got a slowdown there. So that explains what's happened there. Watch here, Anderson still behind coming into turn 1. That explains it. Healy has run wide, made a little bit of a mistake and let his teammate through. So that's a simple mistake there, but now it may be the mistake that Healy rues as Anderson may just run away with this race.
Yeah, that's it. Meanwhile, Stephen Hall out of the race as well. We're not quite sure what happened there, unfortunately, but that's not going to work for him. Hunter, meanwhile, battling with Jackson Harlow. That is certainly looking like an interesting battle as... oh, is that Janssen? Janssen and Harris? What's going on with them? They both slowed down. We're going to get a replay of that. So, coming into this hairpin, I think they're having a rollicking side-by-side battle here. Oh, looks like they both cut the corner. Wow, I've certainly never seen that before.
Yeah, there is some
slowdown penalty at the same time.
There is some weird racing going on in this race, I dare say. So it's all going on at the moment, and we'll go back to. We're back in behind Inwood now, so we're having a look at Harry Inwood here as he fights pretty damn hard with the likes of Jimmy Ball, Cameron Dance, and David Mulhall. And just behind them, we've got this 5-car battle pack leading with Scotty Harris. So we've got some great battles here. Dance is already making his way through the field and trying to make up for lost positions. So he's already up 8 positions at the moment, up into 7th position, and still looking very, very racy. And, well, Mulhall right out there trying to have a look around and see if he can make a move on Dance. Might not be able to make it work this time around. Dance is going to go down the inside here of Ball, try and make that move work. We'll get it done. And we have Joel Kenton around as well at the moment. And he's back going again, so it looks like that won't be race ending for him. We'll still focus on Dancy because he's already pulled away from Ball. Oh, no! Inwood! Oh. Wow, he just missed the ball there. This is going to give Dancy the opportunity he needs to go around the outside here. If he can keep this inside line, he'll be able to throw it down the inside of Inwood here and try and get this move done. He will get it done. He may have left himself susceptible to Ball. Not quite there. Dance is now through up 10 positions in the space of now 3 laps. This is some massive moves being made by Dance at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Harry Inwood having some issues on the exit of the last turn there, but goodness me, Harry Inwood, it all went wrong for him coming out of that left-hander, and it's a very easy thing to do, especially in this car. And more problems for Inwood, just running a little bit too deep in turn 1, so now he's got into a proper battle here with his teammate, and they're going side by side once again, but obviously Inwood conceding that position. Always better, I suppose, in these circumstances to not cross up your teammates too much. David Mulhall trying his best to make use of this situation, but it seems he's overdriving the car just a little bit. We're on board with Inwood at the moment as he chases down his teammate. We'll see what Inwood can do here. Actually started in 10th, so he's made some good gains, but definitely he'll be ruining those few mistakes that he's just made.
And we're going to have a look at the pack behind Scotty Harris now, which I mentioned a bit earlier, and it looks like Harris has gotten a slowdown here, so no longer the pack behind Scotty Harris, it is now the pack behind Jackson Susland Harlow. So we'll watch him now as they come through the first of the 2 hairpins at the back end of this circuit. This is extremely racy here. Scotty Harris has jumped back in behind Steve Jansen here, and will stay there for the time being, but he was showing some quite good pace out the front there, but also proving to make a good little battle pack. So now, watch as they all come onto the straight here. We've got Susland Harlow is actually not too far from David Mulhall after those few mistakes and overdriving the car, as you said earlier, Reese. So watch now, Scotty Harris is actually under attack a little bit from Kossi. Kossi was looking down the inside there, maybe trying to play that psychological game that we mentioned just about every week in these series. But this is a very large battle pack we've got going here at the moment, Reese.
Yeah, certainly is. Long train of cars snaking their way down to the turn leading onto the back straight. David Mulhall running wide once again. He is not having good luck with that turn. Meanwhile, as we look behind Mr. Mulhall towards Harlow, looks like he's got quite the gap to play with, but Harlow, have a look at how much he draws up under brakes. He's really got the brakes sorted in that number 15. Mulhall still having a few issues, just not able to take those consistent lines that we're seeing from people further up ahead, actually almost going defensive. Oh, have a look at Harlow here. He's going to try and go for it. No. Oh, and there we go. That was good presence of mind from David Mulhall. He just left that turn in a little bit later because he could see Harlow coming. Very intelligent racing there, I have to say, from the 230.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I think these guys, they've been racing with each other for a while now, and they sort of know, they know how to race each other. And right now, Mulhall's got to get this car sorted out because he's, oh wow, look at the draft train going here down the main straight as well behind Mulhall. All these guys are trying to make their way past. And number 55 in the background there, Richard Hunter, having a little bit of a look on Harlow. Again, that psychological game. These guys, their cars are all over the place. They're trying to find the gap that's going to net them the position up ahead. Watch Harlow here. He got a pretty good run out of turn 2. Straight. You got flat right down into the hairpin here. He's having a look. Mulhall brakes late enough that Harlow can't get down. Mulhall's gone very wide there, so Harlow's going to try and cut it up the inside. Mulhall may get a good run from that extreme wide line, but they're going to run side by side now down this back straight here with Hunter and Jansen hopping on the draft train there. Hunter may try and find his way through on Mulhall. Oh, Harlow's sort of backed out of that move in the end there. That was a little bit awkward. He didn't brake late enough. Mulhall's going to try and throw it down the inside. They made a little bit of contact there. Oh, he's got back across the track. That was so close. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, well, fortunately, Harlow's staying out of the way of all of that. Currently taking a look at Steve Jansen as he chases down Richard Hunter in the midst of that. Well, tell you what, that's really shaken things up in this battle pack. Meanwhile, we'll just go to a quick replay of what happened to Harlow. Obviously, we've seen moves go awry at this section of the track a few times now, Brock, and it looks to me like there wasn't really much contact made between Harlow and Mulhall, but Harlow just lost it.
I agree.
Stopped. What's going on there?
Looks like we've had contact there. Gonna look back, just coming down into turn 1 here. Hunter's tried to throw it down the inside, and it looks like he's actually may have gotten a bit of the grass there as well. He has. He's just lost it and smacked into Mulhall. Wow, that was a big bit of contact coming into turn 1 there. Wow, that was pretty massive, unfortunately for both those. We're going to go back to second place now between Healy and Stewart at the moment.
Yes, indeed. It's really on for second right now, and Healy, with a few technical issues, it seems. Greg Stewart in hot pursuit, looking to make good on his errors from race 1. You can tell he's definitely got the pace, but Healy will want to keep him behind as much as possible, because if Stewart gets in front of him, then that's more points taken away from Anderson for the championship.
Yeah, and right now,
taken away from Healy, sorry. I don't know what I'm saying at the moment.
That's all right, it's late. No, right now, he really needs to think championship. We have only got a couple of rounds left after this, really. Phillip Island and Mount Panorama, Bathurst. So he's got to make these points up, or he needs to stop the bleeding, if you will, of points. And right now, look at how far Anderson is up the road. His laps are half a second faster than the likes of Healy at the moment. He cannot afford to lose more points here. And Stewart is looking like he is right on the ball at the moment. Stewart's fastest lap is actually half a second faster than Healy's fastest lap. So he is absolutely flying at the moment. And we've got about 6.5 laps left to go here, 9 minutes left. I'm curious to see how this goes. And you've got Haynes in the background, so if anything goes wrong between Healy and Stewart here, Haynes will be there to take advantage. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Making their way through the hairpin for the 8th time in this race. Stewart, I think he's just playing the waiting game right now. He's not quite close enough to Healy to put a move on him. I think he will have to wait until the last lap, which is only, I'd say, about 5 laps away or thereabouts. So the clock is ticking, but Stewart, I think, can afford to bide his time here.
Yeah, he just needs to find the right time. Keep chipping away at it until he's right on the back of the bumper of Healy. You obviously don't want to take him out. Oh, that was a bit of a slide for Stewart there as well, coming onto the main straight. So you don't want to take anyone out, but you've got to be aware of Haynes here, ever looming in that blue and yellow Porsche. And then in the background there, we've got Ball and Dance battling it out as well. So there's Healy has quite a few people to worry about here in terms of points, and it's not so much that they'll catch him, it's that he's going to lose more. So he's got to drive it clean and consistently, and we saw Stewart sort of actually had a lull of pace in the middle of the race before when it came to battling it out with James McKee, but in the last few laps his car turned on and he was right on the back of McKee there. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to turn out, and I think we'll hopefully see that late charge coming from Stewart to try and take it from Healy and get that second spot on the podium.
Yeah, certainly. Really looking forward to seeing what Stewart can do in these last few laps. Update from race control. Richard Hunter has been black flagged as a result of that incident with Mulhall. So obviously race control has deemed him to be at fault. He's going to have a 1 second stop and hold penalty as a result of that.
Yeah, could see that one coming. Unfortunately for Richard, that was just a bit of a mistake there, and obviously has ruined David Mulhall's race as well, who is now in pit lane and not continuing to race, unfortunately. So yeah, that's expected. I think in race control have acted quickly on that.
Yes, indeed. Well, this battle between Healy and Stewart. Goodness me, Greg. Keep that rear end in check, mate. Wow. He's actually starting to lose a bit of ground to Healy now as a result of that. Just pushing a little bit too hard out of the last turn, I believe. So Healy with quite a gap in front of him to Anderson, I think, may just be getting back into a groove again.
Yeah, I guess it's that whole ego hit that you were talking about before. Healy, he made a small mistake and it basically cost him a win, essentially. I think he would have been able to hold Anderson back. We've seen him do that, but it's little mistakes like that that end up costing you the wins in this case. So now Anderson, way up the track at the moment, doing what he does best, and that is dominating these races. Right now, he's about 5 seconds ahead of his teammate, and we've still got basically four laps to go here as we cross the line, so that gap is just going to get bigger and bigger. And I've got to say, Anderson is so impressive the way he drives. Once he gets out in the lead, we don't see him again.
Yeah, very much like some of the drives we've seen Jared Filsell making in the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series as of late. So certainly Anderson will be very happy with the way he's been driving as of late as well. Just focusing on him right now as he comes on to the start-finish straight to begin his 11th lap. And you can see right there the gap visually between himself and his fellow podium contenders. Just lifting the inside rear wheel as coming through turn 1, really pushing that car to its absolute limit here, but you can tell as calm as anything.
And we're going to flash to McKee and Cummings now as they come down the main straight to start their 11th lap, and there's a nice little battle pack going on here. We saw McKee had issues earlier on, so obviously getting that contact made. So now we've got Cummings who had contact early in the first race, and that ruled him out of that one. So nice little battle pack going on here. A bit further down in the pack, this is for 11th, 12th and 10th as well, I believe. So this will be interesting to watch here. As we come down towards the back straight, McKee, he's looking fairly strong at the moment. We'll keep an eye on him. Down here, you've got that draft effect that can benefit. Mind you, if you look at Nick Cummings, he'll be getting the double draft out of this from the 181 in front of them, and then from the 489 of McKee. So we'll see if he ends up trying to throw it down the inside. He won't in the braking zone. They're probably a smart move considering how temperamental the brakes are. Bit of brake lock-up smoke as we come through there as well from the car in front of this little battle pack. I just wonder if there's going to be a last-minute lunge, if you will, to try and get past McKee in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time that McKee has had a TTL eSports car filling his rear mirrors tonight. Actually going side by side there with Kossi. Looks like Kossi actually may be in danger here, but can he hold it around the outside around the last two turns? Nick Cummings will be loving this. Have a look at Kossi. He's lost a lot of momentum, so that is Cummings through. And Kossi losing 2 positions in that final sector. He might try and get it back here from Cummings, but Nick is moving over to protect, as is James McKee. Have a look at that. Very defensive. Is he going to overshoot turn 1, though? Oh, almost, but he manages to keep it together. Proper 3-car battle going on right now, and I think Jason Kossi will be ruining that mistake that he made.
Yeah, exactly it, and it's those little mistakes like I was talking about before for Healy. All it takes is a little brake lock up. Wow, Cummings flew into that corner. My goodness, that was nearly taking out McKee. That would have been the second incident of that like there. Now Kossi right on the back of Cummings here. Wow, that was close to being all over Red Rover for those drivers there, but Kossi's going to try and have a look down the inside here. Not going to be able to make it work or pull him back behind here, but Cummings runs a little bit wide, not able to make it work. Kossi in the background there, so they'll go line astern for now and just focus it, just looking at Cummings and the little mistakes here for Kossi. It's what costs in this car, little brake lockups, little slides, because they're so equal in terms of they don't have much in the way of setup work you can do. It all comes down to driver skills, so you can't make little mistakes like that because it results in losing a couple of positions like he has here. But this battling between Cummings and Kossi, as well as that little mistake by Cummings, has led to McKee having some breathing room for the last couple of laps here.
Yes, indeed. Momentum is the word. It's all about momentum in these cars, because once you get on the throttle, you really can't get much of a run on your rivals. Because of just the way these cars, are, the way the chassis is, the way the tires work, the car setup, and of course the limited amount of adjustments that you can do. Really, if you lose even a few kilometers an hour at the apex of a turn, then that is your run basically over. Nick Cummings finding that out over the last lap, but once again, Nick Cummings always spun. Yes, Nick Cummings is around there, and that. Oh, I mean, I think there was a danger of that happening a few times, Brock, as Steve Janssen actually going through on Harry Inwood. The run that Janssen's been having tonight is fantastic.
Yeah, he's been showing some great pace, and he's come back from quite low down in the field in our first race. Now +2 on his starting position in this last race. Obviously, there was that incident late in the second race that he was involved in. So he's doing quite well and just showing, like I said earlier, that fierce fighter inside of him comes out and he just knows where to throw those moves down the inside and how to make them work. It's very impressive. And as it says on the back of his car, grip. And he has a lot of it when he throws those moves down the inside. So in 7th place at the moment. We are on our last lap here of the night, folks. So Josh Anderson currently leading by a whopping 6.6 seconds over his teammate Healy. This is immense. This is domination by Anderson.
Yeah, it certainly is. Anderson making his way onto the back straight for the final time tonight. And once again, it's been a consummate professional drive from the Aussie Racing Cars driver. Coming into the hairpin. Look at how controlled he is. He's barely put a foot wrong all night, and you know, I think he's really shaping up to be the favourite for this championship.
After tonight, I think that the pace he's been showing, particularly across the last couple of rounds, Anderson has been... he's just been a step above everyone, including his teammate in Healy, and Healy's been doing quite well against most of the rest of the field as well. I think that Anderson, if he doesn't win this championship, it'll be a serious letdown for him because he has got so much pace. And like referring to the momentum comment before, while you need momentum to drive these Porsches, he has got massive momentum coming into the end of this championship, and he'll want to keep that ball rolling. This is going to be yet another full points round for Josh Anderson. He crosses the line in first place, brings it home for OPR. What a race. That was brilliant from him, and didn't put, like I said, barely put a foot wrong in either of these races.
Yes, indeed. And Michael Healy holding off Greg Stewart at the end there. So good to see from those guys. Jimmy Ball losing out to Cameron Dance. My goodness. As Weston and Harlow having a bit of a battle here, a bit of a position. Weston obviously with damage, and Harlow right, just going almost into the wall in the last turn. A very desperate lunge to gain one more position, and he's going very hyper-defensive against Inwood, but he's going to preserve 12th place there. Goodness me. There's some really awesome racing going on tonight, Brock, and tell you what, championship is heating up, especially for Josh Anderson. I suppose in his mind, it's cooling down. It's got a bit more of a gap. So
yeah, I was just going to say that's exactly what he needs. Basically, right now, is he needs that little bit of a gap to just give him a bit more comfort coming into Phillip Island and Mount Panorama, particularly Mount Panorama, where obviously things can go wrong pretty quickly. So you want to make sure that you've got a level head and you've got a little bit of a buffer just in case something goes wrong. So yeah, great performance from him tonight.
yes, indeed. He takes the win, followed by Michael Healy in second. Greg Stewart finishing in third place. Very good from him. David Haynes, very consistent, quiet race from him in fourth. How about Cameron Dance, though? We say it almost every time we see him. He is one of the best racers and the best in terms of making up position that we have on our broadcast here at V8s Online. Started 15th and finishes in 5th. Awesome job. Jimmy Ball in 6th place. Steve Jansen finishing in 7th. A great performance from him, with James McKee holding on for 8th. Jason Cossey getting a top 9, and Nick Cummings finishing 10th after what was a horror race 1.
Yeah, and in 11th place we've got Scotty Harris. 12th is Tim Weston. Jackson Suzlin Harlow, 13th. Harry Inwood, 14th. Richard Hunter, 15th. Joel Kenton, 16th. And our DNFs for the second race here tonight, Zachary Phelan, David Mulhall, and Stephen Hall rounding out our field here.
Yes, indeed. Well, driver interview time, as always. And we have our race winner, our round winner, it should be said, by a sound margin, Mr. Josh Anderson. Welcome to the commentary box, Josh. You looked like you were in complete control the whole time.
Oh, thanks, Reese. Yeah, it was I was surprised because usually I don't like Okayama, but I just felt pretty comfortable tonight.
Well, when Michael Healy got the lead coming into turn 1 at the start of that race, did you feel like you had to turn up the wick a bit?
Yeah, actually, I was sort of tempted to go for a bit of a dive into the hairpin on that one, but I had flashbacks of Alton Park, so I decided not to. But I was going to hustle, and then he made an unfortunate mistake, so it sort of rendered that null and void. But yeah.
Well, it certainly looks like you had the car fully in your grasp here at Okayama, but coming into Phillip Island and Bathurst, the final 2 rounds of the season, you're emerging as the favourite for the championship this season. So obviously 2 tracks very familiar to you, Josh, as you may have encountered them in your real life racing pursuits. So are you feeling confident coming into these final 2 rounds?
Well, I do love both Phillip Island and Bathurst, so and I don't want to be cocky, but yeah, I'd say I feel pretty confident. Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, Mr. Anderson, who would you like to thank?
Mainly Vendaval Sim Racing and OPR. Both guys, Tower teams helping me out a lot in improving my driving, which needed lots of improving a short while ago. Yeah, so they've helped me out a lot. It's good.
Excellent stuff. Joshua Anderson, round winner and championship leader, bringing in 3rd place now because Michael Healy does not seem to be here. Greg Stewart, 3rd place finish in race 2. Now, we'll cast our minds back to race 1 briefly, Mr. Stewart, because you did have a couple of incidents in that one.
Yeah, I did. How you going, guys? I pretty well ran out of talent into that left-hander and absolutely hit the side of my competitor, which wasn't good. But anyway, let him back through, keep moving forward.
You definitely made up for it with a strong drive in race 2 to finish in 3rd place. Obviously looked like you were enjoying yourself out there.
Yeah, we got a good set. Nick Cummings and I have been working on it this afternoon, and it was pretty strong. I was catching Healy, but he had too much for me. But it was a good night. First time in the series, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely. You had a good result, but I guess the same couldn't really be said for Cameron or Nick. Their race 1 went about as bad as you could possibly see from what we could see of them in race 1. So obviously, good for you to carry the flag for TTL here and get some good results.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a good night. Bad luck for those boys. I guess they started back in the field, and you just never know what you're going to get when it's like that. But look, I had a lucky run. I got through. I was going all right. Good stuff.
Excellent stuff. Will we be seeing you at Phillip Island and Bathurst?
Yeah, I want to keep doing it. I've only just really come back after quite a big break, so I need to hop into it, and I'll be definitely running the Porsche everywhere. So look forward to seeing you guys too.
And we look forward to seeing you. Before we let you go, Greg, who would you like to thank?
My mum.
Awesome. Craig Stewart there from TTL Esports, your third place finisher in race 2. And finally, we're going to bring in... sorry, everybody. We're going to bring in David Haynes, fourth place finisher in both races. David, a consistent round for you with good results.
Yeah, it's going to be easy to remember where I finished in each race.
Yeah, certainly. It definitely helps in that regard. Well, obviously, it seemed kind of lonely for you out there.
Yeah, I know. I recorded both of my races, and now no one's going to want to watch them. Other than the first couple laps in both races, I was sort of minding my own business, looking at the gap forwards, going, oh, I'm probably not going to catch them. Looking at the gap backwards, going, I hope Cam Dance doesn't catch me. But other than that, I guess overall as a round, I've got to be pretty happy with it. Consistency, plenty of points as we come into the last 2 rounds of this season.
Yeah, certainly. It seems like you're looming for third place in the championship, as neither Forzan Elnabi nor Dylan Shepherd were present at this round. So definitely the confidence is turning up coming into Phillip Island and Bathurst.
Yeah, Phillip Island, not necessarily a track I expect I'm going to excel at, but really looking forward to Bathurst and that 1 hour enduro there. That's going to be a fun one to drive and hopefully a fun one for everyone to watch.
Yeah, certainly will. Well, before we let you go, David, who would you like to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank Race Spot. It's always really fun broadcasting.
Oh my goodness.
HJBC, my team Huge Ass. I'd like to thank John Hindhoff of Radio Le Mans for giving a shout out to me during his Petite Le Mans coverage. And I'd like to thank the ultimate in refreshment, Dickens Cider.
Fantastic stuff from David Haynes. And of course, we do appreciate the continued running joke between V8's Online and Race Spot there. David Haynes from Team Hugh Jass. Well, that brings to a conclusion our proceedings for tonight, Brock. A great round, I have to say.
Yeah, a really great round, rounded out by some great thank yous from our drivers. So I got to say, the interviews there with the thank yous were pretty impressive too. But yeah, I love that. I think there was some awesome racing through those couple of races there, and it showed what these Porsche drivers are seriously capable of. And we've been seeing it building up with some great racing. But this is probably the best round we've had in the Porsche Supercup Australasia up until this point. We're at round 8, so we've only got a couple of rounds left. But I seriously hope this series continues to thrive and bring some awesome driving with it. And the drivers we've got here, that mid-pack battling tonight was awesome. I've seriously loved commentating this series, but tonight was just something different as well. It was seriously impressive.
Yeah, it certainly was, and definitely looking forward to the final 2 rounds of the season in the next 2 fortnights. Same day, Wednesday. So look out for Phillip Island and Bathurst. Final 2 rounds of the V8's Online Porsche Supercup Australasia. The fun doesn't stop, though, for us here at V8's Online. On our own channel, we have the Australian Online Supercar Championship, the Nürburgring 650, on Friday night. That's going to be an interesting one. And then, over the weekend, we've also got 1,500 kilometers of racing at the Mount Panorama circuit. On Saturday, we've got a special one-off Bathurst 1000 as part of the major series. And then on Sunday, we've got the Bathurst 500 for the international division of the majors series. I honestly cannot believe how much racing we've got at Bathurst this weekend. Fantastic stuff. And on Monday, we got a major announcement coming up for V8's Online. So make sure you stay tuned into our social media channels. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're also on YouTube at V8's Online. Big announcement coming up. We're really looking forward to revealing some awesome information to you. The Bathurst 1000 for the majors is going to be on the iRacing eSports network, so you'll be able to catch it here, along with a lot of fantastic broadcasts from iRacing's top broadcast teams. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Your round winner, Joshua Anderson, here in the V8s Online Porsche Supercup Australasia, round 8 at Okayama. We'll catch you next time.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing eSports Network.